All right, should be starting right now, hopefully. What's up, everybody? Dr. Earl here. This is the on the Dr. Earl W. Brown channel, and we're here with Foul Mouth Ken, ladies and gentlemen, from the almighty,
Yo,
the Foul Mouths Network, and
yeah.
and let's see if everything is going good here. Just to make sure everything's fine. Because last time I tried it with Minnesota Vikings fan, yeah, we're live right now, folks, ladies and gentlemen. All right. It's me,
Yeah.
Ken, and this was suggested by your when I was on your program a couple weeks back. I actually was last week, I believe. No, actually, a couple Saturdays ago when I was on one of your Insomniacs. You
Yeah.
said we should do a show together about talk about rock and roll. So I figured we'd do it on my channel here.
Hell
And
yeah.
all right, so everything's going good, and there's a lot of things a lot of things we need to discuss, like the past, the present, and the possible future, which as I gave in the title here, because so many people my age, I know some of your age, it's like very questioning the music that we have nowadays, especially the rock and roll that's supposed to be out there. I mean, like most of the
Oh
stuff.
yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
I mean, do you see? How do you see the rock and roll today compared to the
You know
rock and
what's
roll
messed
then?
up?
Hmm.
Well, Dr. Earl, I'll tell you this right now. All genre of music
Hmm.
right now, all genre, right?
Yes.
They all suck. Correct?
Yeah, a lot of the current
Like,
genres.
yeah, like if you think hip hop right now, people said, the real hip hop heads will tell you hip hop sucks right now. It's
Yeah,
not any good.
yeah,
The rock and roll people, who know rock really well will tell you the same thing about rock and roll. It sucks
yeah,
right
I know,
now,
I know. It
There-
is. I mean,
There's some good bands, but I mean, but the point I'm trying to make is that, right now there was a golden era of rock and roll,
oh yes, I know,
obviously, and
absolutely.
that's where you got to pinpoint it. Just like there was a golden era of hip hop and, so on and so forth. And it's like, where was that golden era of rock and roll?
I have
And
no clue.
I mean, everybody has their personal beliefs on when that was. And me personally, I like to think that rock and roll was really at its best to me, um, was between the 60s and 70s.
Hmm. And some of the
To
'80s
me,
as well. Yeah, most of the
yeah, I mean,
because
the
I'm.
80s, yeah, I like the 80s too, but it started to get really commercialized at that point for me,
Yeah.
with the hair band groups and all that. But there was great music that came out of the era of the '80s as well. I mean,
Mm.
there definitely was. There's no doubt about it. There was some great music that came out of the '80s, rock and roll. But I think the real golden era was the '60s and '70s because the '50s were kind of doo-wop-ish. You know what I mean? It kind of had rock and roll. Kind of had that doo-wop sound in it a little bit to me.
Yeah, with all the singing
Maybe I'm
groups.
wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe I'm wrong. Some people might tell you that there was rock and roll in the '50s that was good, but it just sounds different from the rock in like the mid '60s and '70s
Yo.
because that to me, the rock that came out of that era from like say, let's say from 1960 to like 1980,
Hmm.
that era for me in rock and roll was like it defines the whole rock era because I mean the greatest bands and the greatest songs came out of those years, those like 20 years.
No, it's for me. It's kind of funny that the '50s rock and roll from the 1950s up until the day the music died was pretty much really driven like Gene Vincent, Buddy Holly, Richie Valens, the Big Bopper, J.P. Richardson, up until, as I mentioned, the day the music died, that plane crash in February '59.
Yeah.
Up until when the Beatles came and saved our souls, rock the most performers back at the time were pretty much didn't have that much backbone. Then the Beatles came along on Ed Sullivan, and everybody
Oh
got
yeah,
riled up. As
that
along with
changed everything.
yeah,
That
and
changed
plus
everything. My mother has told me that story a million times. My mother was at Shea Stadium for the Beatles' first concert ever.
wow,
Yeah, she was there. She was
Well,
there at
now
Shea Stadium in Queens, New York. The Beatles, 19, I think it was 1964,
I think it was so 64 or 65. I think it was. I know.
somewhere in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Beatles came over on a Pan Am flight from London,
Yep.
and they landed in New York, and they went straight from LaGuardia Airport, which is right around the block from Shea Stadium. Once where Shea Stadium was, it's now Citi Field, but it was right down the block. They jumped in a limo. They drove to Shea Stadium, where Shea Stadium was sold out. You couldn't get a seat. It was sold out to the brim, and there were people even outside of the stadium, like camped out, waiting to hear the Beatles. And the Beatles went live at like I think it was like 6:35 at night,
Mm.
and they rocked the fucking stadium until about like 10 o'clock at night. And they did all these fucking hits that no one's ever heard before.
Hmm.
All these songs that people didn't even hear before, and they rocked the house, man. And it changed everything. Changed everything, dude. From that point on, changed everything. The Beatles were like, when, the younger people hear about the Beatles and they're like, oh yeah, the Beatles, whatever. But realistically, like that's like a group coming on the scene now that has a sound that no one else has. I mean, the Beatles had a sound that no one else had.
Yeah,
And all four of those guys were talented motherfuckers,
they were.
especially the three of them. Ringo Starr is a drummer, and
Yeah.
Ringo would write and sing, but the three guys like George Harrison, McCartney, and Lennon, those guys were gold. I mean, those guys were
They
just
were.
they were all
Absolutely.
stars. Like all three of them are like Jordan. Like those are three Jordans on one team.
They're on definitely the Mount Rushmore of music there, definitely for sure. Because years
Yeah,
later,
because all three of them branched off and did their own thing, and they all were successful and had brilliant music on their own.
yes,
And
yeah,
together they had even better music. I mean, you can't. I mean, the hits just are endless. The number one hits are endless for them. There's just one right after the other. It was crazy what they were doing back then.
yeah. And it fits to say that they had a major influence on other British bands to come over here and
Oh
conquer
yeah,
America, whether it's the
remember the British
Yardbirds.
invasion?
Oh
Remember the
yeah, the
British
Kings.
invasion in the '80s?
Yes. Oh
The
yeah.
late '70s, early '80s. The British invasion in the U.S. was crazy. In the late '70s, early '80s, there was so many British groups that came out and like had so many great fucking songs, man, back then,
Yeah.
especially in the '80s.
Yeah. Shout out to Minnesota Civil Row. He's watching this program right now.
Oh, it's Silver Daddy, baby.
Yeah.
Silver Daddy pancake, baby.
And with a gentleman person named Ouija Locke says, without Black Sabbath, there would be no heavy metal. I agree. We got to
Oh,
definitely
God,
talk.
yeah, man.
We got to
Dude, you
talk
kidding
about the
me?
first album as well because that album turned 50 years old this past Thursday. Believe it or not.
I got news for you.
Yeah,
Black Sabbath, they opened the door for fucking.
heavy metal.
Well, yeah, I mean, just like if it wasn't for them, you wouldn't have groups like Metallica or fucking
Oh yeah,
Slayer. Fucking
King
uh,
Diamond, A Merciful
yeah,
Fate, all
yeah,
these other
like those
bands.
those yeah those bands like you wouldn't have them if it wasn't for them.
All right.
You know.
And here's something interesting that when that article came out that it was turning 50. You remember, the woman on the front cover of that particular album, the woman in black.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, they finally found out her identity. It seems that her name is let me see if I pronounce this right. Basically her first name, Louisa Louise Livingston. And at the time she was doing the photo shoot for that cover, she was naked underneath that black cloak, and they did a couple of little sexy poses there. But however, the problem is, it wasn't going well with the type of music that was on the album. So the cover that we see now was one that would last forever in heavy metal maniacs' minds,
Yeah, yeah.
because that's probably one of the most iconic covers out there.
Dude, that sparked all those other iconic covers that came out after it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
like
all the
Sabbath,
fucking
Blaze
epic
Sabbath.
covers.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Sabbath, Blaze.
dude, there was some
That was a
epic
freaky album
covers.
cover.
Sabbath was like the ones who started that shit, bro,
I
with those
know. Yeah,
covers.
yeah,
I mean, they were ahead of their time with that shit.
Yeah.
Because you got to remember, like the late '70s, the '80s, and the '90s, and even early parts of the 2000s, the album cover was a huge thing.
Yeah, they
What you
said.
had on the album cover, now it doesn't even fucking matter
Yeah,
because
no,
everybody's downloading shit. It doesn't even matter what's on your cover. You could have a red fucking screen, just red.
yeah,
Nobody gives a
that's
fuck anymore.
that's what we miss. All these. Now we know some records out there are coming out on vinyl nowadays, but compared to
Yes,
the
but
stuff,
Dr. Earl, it sucks. Let me tell you what sucks. Me and my wife were talking about it the other day. We used to go to the CD record store, whatever you want to call it, because when we were kids, we would go to the record store.
oh
When
yeah,
we were when we just hit grown ups, like 20 something years old, we would go to the CD store. Now you go nowhere. You go on your computer, you go on your phone. You download it or you listen to it on YouTube or you listen to it on fucking Spotify or whatever. It sucks that you can't go to the CD store anymore because I used to jump in the car and go like, yo, let's go to the CD store. And I would look up obscure shit that I wouldn't know about, like shit that I never even heard of before. And I'd be like, yo, I want to get an album of something different and new, something I never heard of before. And I would wind up getting like I used to buy a shitload of James Brown albums and fucking I mean, the Doors. I would buy the Doors constantly, all
oh
their
yeah,
albums,
yes,
and I wouldn't see this shit or hear about this shit unless I would go to the CD store or go to the cassette store or whatever the fuck you want to call it, because it was all three things when I was a kid. It was a record store. I would go buy a record when I was a kid, and then it turned into a cassette store where it was all cassette tapes.
yes.
Everything was sold in cassette tapes, and then it turned into CDs. Everything was CDs, and then it ended, and then it all fucking ended, and it sucks that you can't go to those places anymore, like the Wall, or go to these places that used to sell records and CDs and shit, man. It really
It's
sucks.
I know because back in Michigan we had Sam's Jams, we had the record time in both Roseville and Ferndale, and we
Yeah, we
also
had the Wall. We had the Wall, and they would give you a sticker if your CD broke. If anything broke on it, the cover, the CD itself, if you had the sticker on there, you can bring your CD back into the store and they'll replace it for free. No
nice,
question. Yeah,
nice.
and that's what we always used to do. And like I used to go to the concerts of a lot of these groups, and I was heavily into Pearl Jam, and I was heavily into Pearl Jam and Stone Temple Pilots, and Red Hot Chili Peppers, and those type of groups in the '90s. And I would go to all the concerts. Rage Against the Machine, I was into big time. So I would go to all those concerts, man. Lollapalooza, and I would take all the ticket stubs and I would put them in the CD itself. Like I would open up the CD and I put it all the way in the back of the CD and then close it again where the CD goes into, and it would be forever in the back of that CD case. And I still
Ah,
have all my old ticket stubs, man, to my
oh man.
concerts. You ever save your concert stubs?
No, there was a few I saved back in
You
Michigan.
probably
I don't.
went to a ton of fucking concerts,
Oh,
didn't
there
you?
was I didn't
Let
the
me ask
most.
you, if you
Yeah,
grew
yeah.
up in Michigan, then you fucking definitely know about Kiss.
Yes, absolutely. They're one
I
of
mean,
their
Kiss was huge in Michigan.
no doubt, yeah, because the first Alive album was recorded in Cobo Hall back in
Exactly.
'73.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep. And that's when rock fucking really just took off, bro. In
yeah,
73, 74, oh my God, it turned into that's when shit started getting dark and really just, it was the birth of heavy metal, right? Or coming up soon,
and let
you
me
know?
also and let's point this out to all the musicians there today who sit behind laptops and all these computer technology.
I played drums my whole entire life, man, since I was 5 years old, man.
Yeah, but I started playing guitar when it was about after I saw a picture of John Lennon with his Rickenbacker guitar, and then I
Yeah, dude. See, that's what always sparks people to do that because I used to be a huge Bonham fan from
Led
from
Zeppelin.
Led Zeppelin,
Yeah.
and then I started getting into drummers just all together, and I mean I love all the big names, and Lars Ulrich is one of my. I like him too, even though he's an asshole. He's just an
Yeah.
awesome drummer.
Yes.
Tommy Lee. I mean all the big names, but I also like the obscure drummers who like the drummer from Green Day.
Hmm.
I forget his name, but he's fucking amazing.
Trey Cool, I think it is.
Yeah, he could fucking hit a snare and a fucking bass drum you just give him a stick and he's good to go. Like the guy's amazing,
Yeah.
and Like I started getting into all that big time, like, and started to like. And my father was a drummer, so I used to see photos of him in the Navy because he was in Vietnam, and they were all into rock and roll back then. I mean, rock was like the thing back then, man. Um, what was the name of the groups back then? It was the Rolling Stones were
Rolling
huge back
Stones,
then.
the
You know,
Beatles,
yeah,
Yardbirds, all those
those,
bands. The
yeah,
Who,
man, that was, man, that what a day that was, man. With
the
those
Who
fucking,
as well with Keith Moon. Moon was
oh
a
yeah, the
fucking
Who,
Keith
dude.
Moon was a
I
psychopath
know.
behind
Dude,
that
Keith Moon
kid,
was
man.
the man, bro. Dude, Keith Moon was fucking god, bro. That
Oh,
guy
man.
was just, he was just fucking amazing. That
That
guy.
guy was on Red Bull 24/7 when you think
Yeah, dude,
about
that guy was
today.
just jacked up, bro.
And all
Jacked
the
the fuck
fucking
up.
stories about him. We
Dr.
can
Earl, you know what you remind me of? You
what?
could have been like an old MTV video VJ, like that retired at a certain age. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah, I know.
you remind me of a guy who was like, yeah, man, the rock scene, like you used to hang out at CBGB's back in the fucking 70s. You know, like that's it. Like if you told me that, I would believe you.
Yeah.
Because that's just like the type of guy you are. Like, you know, I
Oh,
used to hang
dude.
out at CBGB's. Yo, let me tell you something, man. CBGB's, I knew a lot of people that used to go to CBGB's back in the 70s, and like, you know, they're only, remember, I was born in 77, so
Yes.
like people who are only like 10 years older than me were going to these clubs. They were like 20 years old, 15 years old, going to these clubs in the city, and you were either going to Club 54, or you were going to Studio 54, or you were going to CBGB's. And CBGB's was, I mean, dude, some of the greatest groups of all time were coming out of CBGB's, bro. You've
Talking
heard of
Heads.
CB.
Yes. Blondie.
Yeah. Yep,
Talking
Blondie, Talking
Heads, and
Heads.
especially the Ramones. Especially
Yep,
the
the
Ramones.
Ramones were big there because they were a New York band. You know what I mean? The Ramones were
Yes.
like a hometown band. You know what I
Yes.
mean? And everybody loved the fucker Ramones. Plus Joey Ramone, you know, he was a Long Island guy too, man,
Yeah.
and a lot of roots in Brooklyn, New York. Plus, you also got to remember, Dee Schneider is a huge guy here in Long Island. Dee
Oh, yeah.
Schneider,
Yes. From
and
Twisted Sister.
yeah, he's beloved out here, Dee Schneider. Like that guy is fucking. See, now many people don't realize my knowledge with rock and roll and shit, and like just music in general. I don't really talk about it that much, but I do have a huge background in it and around me. Like I literally, you want to, like I could tell you, you know, groups that were on Long Island back in the fucking 60s and 70s that were unknowns and that rose to like they rose to stardom, like overnight. Some of these groups, man, that were like coming from the city, and like I mean, in the 70s, man, they were pumping out groups out of New York City like they were fucking hotcakes.
Yeah.
Rock and roll groups, you know, not rock and roll groups, but it really rock and roll. Okay, because punk music started because of rock and roll. So
Yes.
if we're talking rock and roll, you got to also talk punk music in there. You know what I
Yes.
mean? Because
Heavy
punk
metal as
is a
well.
derivative. Yeah, heavy metal, exactly. That started from rock music as well.
Yeah.
You know, so like if we're talking rock, rock's expanded into like so many
All these
different
little
areas.
genres, all these little
I got news
areas.
for you. Yeah,
Yeah.
it even made hip hop. Rock and roll is even part of hip hop.
Yeah.
You know,
Which
because
explains
hip
why
hop,
NWA was and Run DMC being inducted to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. That explains it
exactly,
all.
exactly. Because yeah, they were part of the pioneers of hip hop, and not only hip hop, but they were the first groups, mainly Run DMC, that bridged rock and roll over to hip
With
hop.
rap. Yeah. Oh,
Yeah, and
but
they did it on purpose. They
yeah.
did it because they wanted to bridge both sides. And let me
Yeah.
tell you something.
Hmm.
Music, and it's the truest thing ever. Madonna, even though she's a floozy cunt right now, but
Yep.
Madonna, she said it in one of her songs. She nailed what it's really all about, music, okay?
Yep.
And music, at the end of the day, brings people together.
Yes.
And when they bridge rock and rap together, believe it or not, it brought fucking people together that never were together ever before. You know,
Yes.
especially in these clubs, when white people started dancing to hip hop music and black people started dancing to rock and roll music, it bridged a lot of people together that never were together before.
Yes. Which is
So,
it
you
was
know,
pretty
music,
awesome. I mean, we see
it is. It is.
and there's broadcasts that introduces black into rock and roll. For instance, Big Boy from Outkast, the ATL rap group, he admitted that he was in the bands like Skid Row at times. And of course, and there was a lot of rumors that
Oh, they
Well,
had their
Guns
own
N'
style. Those guys, man.
yeah, no. And plus,
Outcast.
there was a talk back in around 1991 that NWA, the rap group, was going to do a tour with Guns N' Roses.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember that. Yep.
Hmm. And
And they were going to call it the rock and rap connection or some shit. I remember them trying to sell that, like, would people go and see it? And I got news for you. There were a lot of people who were into rock in the '80s who liked NWA
yeah,
because it was heavy. It wasn't like the rock. It wasn't like the rap music
that
that
we
was
have
being
now
played.
today.
Yeah, it wasn't like that, and it wasn't even like the rap music that was being played in New York at that time, because rap music in New York at that time was all like happy-go-lucky rap music. It was like all dancing and happy-go-lucky shit. And when NWA came out, that shit was considered hardcore rap.
It
If
was
you want to
brutal.
call,
It
you want
was
to, if you want to put it in a genre, gangster rap. Okay, I can see you naming it that, but it was also considered
hardcore,
hardcore rap. Yeah,
hardcore.
it was
Yeah,
hardcore, and that's why the dudes who liked heavy metal and liked that hardcore rock, they actually liked NWO because they knew it was a derivative of like rap. It was hardcore. It was harder.
it was monsters. And the thing
Yeah,
is, it told what was going on around their area, because which is kind of relates to Black Sabbath, because while they were doing songs that scare people, they were also presenting the public the viewpoint from their area. Because remember, the
yeah, exactly.
Black Sabbath grew up around the Birmingham, England area, whereas it was at that time described by the guitarist Tony Iommi that it was only violence, poverty, and pollution. So
Drug.
there,
Yeah.
yeah, you know, a lot of smog, a lot of gangs. Ozzy and Tony Iommi were in separate gangs. They used to beat each other up back in high school.
Yeah, but let me tell you, Dr. Earl, there's a difference between gangs like that and gangs in the U.S., because gangs over there, they used to kick the shit out of each other. Once in a while, somebody would get stabbed.
Yeah,
Gangs over here in the U.S., I mean, the West Coast and the East Coast, and even in the southern states, they were fucking shooting the shit out of each other with semi-automatics, and nobody gave a fuck back then. Nobody cared. Where's these weapons coming from? Nobody was questioning anything, but they didn't give a fuck because it was black on black. It was
yeah.
blacks killing black. So they didn't give a fuck about that back then. They didn't care where the weapons were coming from. Now all of a sudden it goes into the suburbs, and it goes into these schools, all right? And now it's white kids being shot up, and Chinese kids being shot up, and white suburban kids being killed, and now everybody's, oh, where are the guns coming from? But they didn't give a fuck back then. You know what I mean? Nobody cared back then.
That's
You know,
because a lot of it, because all that shit was brought out in the mainstream by of course NWA, Ice T,
yeah, yeah,
they were
yeah.
people
Oh
talk
yeah,
about
I
it.
see. Yep.
And all these white kids who get into it feel like and these are the ones who are the kicked out. They're the ones who are the outcasts, the ones who are pushed aside because they're not what the regular people want them to be. They see
Yeah.
that
Well,
as
look, you get
and
a guy like Eminem from that. You get a kid like Eminem.
yeah.
You know, Slim Shady, who is an unbelievable fucking lyricist. The guy
Oh,
is
he is.
unbelievable.
He is. Yeah, I
That's
mean, the
another
last
guy.
few songs was like, holy cow, this man can
Yeah.
out rap anybody.
Dude,
They're,
but you know what? You
yeah,
want to know what? He's another guy who bridged rock and rap, because he sampled a couple of fucking songs from The Who. He
Aerosmith.
sampled a couple of songs from Aerosmith, Def Leppard.
Hmm.
He sampled a lot of rock hits, a lot of rock legendary hits.
Yeah,
So like and he's also from Detroit,
yeah,
which rock and roll has a rich history in,
yeah,
obviously.
yeah.
So it's like,
MC5. Ted Nugent and the Amboy Dukes.
yeah,
Iggy
yeah,
Pop and the
dude. I mean, come
Stooges.
on, man. Yeah, dude, Iggy Pop. What, are you kidding me? Like, rock was kind of born in Detroit, if you really want to think about
Yeah,
it, man. It
until
really was.
the Bob Seger system, before he started the Silver Bullet Band, he came out with probably one of the most provocative, monstrous anti-war anthems out there, called 2+2, and it's just
Yeah.
really, it was, if you listen, folks out there, if you listen to that song, you're like, holy cow, this is some riveting
Hey, you know what's
stuff.
fucked up, Dr. Earl? You're speaking about a song that people don't really know about.
Yeah.
You know Blues Travelers?
Yes, I heard of them. Yeah,
Group Blues Travelers? Okay, there's a song called The Hook,
yeah,
right? That was
I remember
popular in the
that.
90s.
Yes, I remember hearing
All
that
right.
song all the
Now,
time at the
now
jukebox.
a million people have sang this song because it's such a nice melody, and it's a great like lyrics written song, and the melody's beautiful. And a million people have sang this song, the words to it, right? And they
Yes.
have no clue what the fucking song means. And I just found out the meaning to that song recently. And I said to myself, oh my God, for like 25 years I've been hearing this song and I never knew the fucking meaning to it. What a dumb fuck I am. And the
Wow.
meaning of the song is, it's called The Hook because in the song, the guy is saying, and I think his name is John Papa, the lead
Yes.
singer of that.
Yes.
I
That's
think
him.
in the song he's saying, if you have a good hook, people don't care what the meaning of the song is or what the words are. As long as there's a good hook and a melody, people will be singing the song for forever. And he's saying that in the song, basically saying, the joke's on you who's singing this song, who thinks they know what the song is all about. You really don't know what it's about because you don't care what it's about. You just care about the melody and the hook. You don't
Yeah.
care what the meaning is.
I
And
know.
that's what gets lost in a lot of this music nowadays, is that there's nothing put behind the meaning. It's somebody getting into a box or a booth and just making a melody up in their head, and then boom, they put it on wax, and bang, now you got a hit.
Yeah.
There's no meaning behind it. There's no substance
Usually
behind it.
nursery
And
rhyme lyrics, like, "Oh baby, I love you so and so
yeah,
that
it's
much,"
like there's nothing behind it. There's no soul in it.
or
Back in the
or
day
or
when
emo, or
dudes were
this
rapping.
emo stuff. That's what we got
Yeah,
now.
back in the day when people were rapping, they were rapping about how fucked up their lives were and shit that was going on around them. Or metal music that was coming out. They were singing about how like fucked up the world is,
Yeah.
and like fucked up shit that's going on in the world, and fucked up shit that's gone on in the world.
Yeah.
It had substance. It had meaning.
Yeah.
There was music that was made in the 60s and 70s that were against war.
Yeah.
That were
War
protesting
and When
war.
Star
You
by
know?
and When Stars War. That was one of them.
Yeah, man. It was like all this stuff, and it all had meaning and substance. And now it's like a dime a dozen. It's watered down. It's
It's
quantity
crappy.
over
It's just,
quality.
yeah.
It's quantity over quality.
Get
Pump
that
out
hit
20
out.
hits.
Cup out
Yeah,
the.
get out 20 hits, have nothing behind it, have no substance behind it, have no heart behind it, have no truth
Have
behind it.
nothing. It's
Just pump it out.
And
Just
it's
keep pumping it
and
out.
to be honest with you, it fucking disgusts me because most of these, and what pisses me off is that most of these kids today are usually closed-minded. Like my ex-girlfriend, I tried to. She only understand. Heart,
Yeah,
right?
but I'm telling you though, Dr. Earl, I understand where you're coming from, and some of these kids are like that, but these kids are smart, bro. They eventually figure out what's real and what's not, man.
Hmm.
They eventually going to put their finger on it because I see how my daughter's young, right?
Yeah.
11 years old or whatever. I could
Yes.
see what she thinks and what she does, right? She used to follow all these kids and follow what other people were doing, right? And then once she caught on to something, boom, she would switch up on it. And I would say to myself, well, hey, there's a leader because that's someone who's going. Those kids eventually get it. They know it's bullshit eventually. They do come off like, oh, they don't care and they're dumb kids, but they're not. These young kids that are like, 11, 12, 13, 15, 20, like that young, that you think they're dumb, but they're really not. They're fucking smart, bro. It might take them a little time to catch on, but they know what's bullshit eventually. They know what it is.
Yeah,
There's some
definitely.
people that used to go their whole lives not knowing bullshit. They used to go their whole lives believing the bullshit.
Yeah.
People
Yeah.
nowadays, a lot of people are waking up, man.
Yeah.
A lot of people are waking up to this commercialized, you know, low quality fucking quantity
Nursery
bullshit.
rhyme lyrics with auto tune all of the time on them.
Yeah,
Gosh, every
yeah, dude.
fucking rapper I remember back in the day was like using auto tune on their tunes.
Yeah, dude. From
Because
2000 and fucking seven, from 2007 to like 2000 and like fucking 18. That's all you heard was fucking auto tune rappers. Like,
I
I mean,
know
it was just
auto
fucking
tune, and it was
mumbling auto tune rappers.
because he can't sing. And a funny thing is that T Pain made that into made that into the
Yeah.
mainstream, but it
Well, you know
was
who the first one who brought that?
Share,
Share,
believe, yeah,
exactly,
that's and
exactly.
that was
See, you
back
know
in
your music.
yeah,
See,
exactly. I
you
remember
know
hearing
your
it many
music, Doctor
times.
Earl.
Yeah,
You know your music, Doctor Earl,
I
because not
know.
many people that I talk to know that Cher was the first one with "Do You Believe?"
Even though I wasn't a
That was,
big fan of that song, but I remember
no, I
hearing that.
wasn't
I
either.
said,
But
"What
you
the
want to know
fuck?"
something?
Yeah,
Listen to this. That chick, okay, came out with that song fucking like 40 years after she came out with a number one hit. All
Yeah.
right, and that song was a number one hit in the charts in the U.S. I'm pretty sure in 1999,
Yeah.
and it rose to number one after 5 weeks in the charts, and it fucking stayed at number one for a record like 42 weeks. And that song was played at every fucking wedding and every fucking bar mitzvah and every fucking graduation you could think of for the next fucking 20 years.
And
So that
that's
that thing was a monster hit for
it
her,
was. It
and she
was.
came out with that late in her career. Late in her
Yeah,
career.
and a lot of people don't realize that this is the same woman who starred on a TV show on CBS with her husband Sonny
Yeah, man,
Bono.
she was the shit in
I
the
know.
'60s, man.
Yeah,
She
she
was
was.
sex. She was a sex symbol in the '60s, and she was still a sex symbol in the fucking 2000s.
Yeah.
She was still one in the 2000s, and you know what? You see her now. Now she looks like a fucking. She looks like a Mardi Gras float. But I mean, at
She
least
does.
at least she's still alive. I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah, but she's
you
still out
know.
there kicking it. Shit, this same woman who years back put out a song called Gypsies, Tramps, and Thieves, an interesting story behind that song as well.
Remember her in The Mask, the movie
Yeah.
The Mask? I mean,
Yeah.
she was amazing in that.
Ah,
Cher,
yeah.
she was
Ah.
amazing in The Mask.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yes, that
You
song,
know.
yeah, movie about deformity of someone's face. It props him as
Yeah,
Sarah
man.
Sam,
What a
Sam
movie that was,
Elliott, and
bro.
Eric Stoltz as Rocky Dennis. Definitely
Yeah,
a movie
that's
that,
right around when he was going to be in Back to the Future, and he
yeah,
was in Back to the Future,
yeah.
but they had
Michael
to
J.
fucking end the movie and reshoot it with
Yeah,
Michael J. Fox.
yeah,
Fucked up.
yeah. What's kind of funny is that I'm thinking about where we're talking about the kids that they get and all that stuff. I also need to point this out that all the kids out there who listen to bands like Avenged Sevenfold, they talk about because they do a lot of guitar harmonics on their songs.
Yeah,
They talk about all the Avenged Sevenfold talks about they learned it from both Judas Priest and Iron Maiden. But let's not
dude, I
forget,
love the White Stripes. Like I love some of the groups of now. Like the White Stripes are awesome. You know,
yes,
um, and
another
there's some,
Detroit
like
band.
yeah, they're great, man. The White Stripes, and there's a couple of other groups out there that I like. I like music. That rock and roll was pretty good, believe it or not, in the mid 2000s, like around like oh 03, oh 04, oh 05. There was some pretty good like what you consider rock music coming out at that point.
Yes.
Um, and I think back to it now when it was coming out, I was like, this music's all right, but I dig it a little bit. But now listening to it now, 15 years later, I think it was pretty good fucking music. It was pretty good rock. How do you feel about the early 2000s rock?
Well, most of the early 2000s rock, as we know, was mostly the new metal stuff like Disturbed, Stain, Deftones.
Yeah,
I did dig Disturbed because they had a good groove to their songs there.
yeah, yeah. They did, man.
Yeah.
They did.
But I wasn't much into Stain because, the thing that I sing it because of Aaron Lewis, the singer there. I usually stand around with his eyes closed and sort of a mopey
I
pose.
know, I know. Yeah, he was like one of those, emotional fucking,
Yeah.
you know.
And
Yeah.
I just couldn't really get into it for oddball reason there. So basically, I'm thinking probably the thing that pisses me off is that most of the kids today, they need to explore. I wish I could, if I had a
Well,
TARDIS of
see,
my
that's
own.
part of the thing, Dr. Earl. That's part of the thing. They can't go to the record store and go in there and go, "Oh, what the fuck is this? Let me buy this and take this home. Let me see what the fuck's this all about." You know what I mean? Like,
Yes.
because that's how I found the Doors, man. I found the Doors because I heard about them when I was a kid. And I was like, and then I went and I bought a Doors album, and it was a live double CD Doors album, right?
Yeah.
And it was live. It was live in concert, and it was a double CD. And I went home and I put it on, and I'll never fucking forget it, man. I did not take that fucking thing out of my CD player for the next 3 years, bro. Like that's all I listened to was that double CD, and I knew every word, I knew every drum beat, I knew every fucking everything about that whole entire double live album,
Hmm.
and I like became the huge Doors fan.
I
And
am.
then I went into Led Zeppelin, bro, and
Oh gosh.
I got into a Led Zeppelin kick where it was all Zeppelin all the time, every day. It was Led Zeppelin,
Oh man.
Zeppelin, Zeppelin, Zeppelin.
Same here.
Then I
I
got
learned.
into Floyd, bro, Pink
Oh
Floyd.
gosh,
All right, and
dude.
Pink Floyd. When I got into them, it was I like that was when I was like smoking weed and I was like, experimenting with a lot of things, and I was just like fucking that music brought me, and it's still when I listen to it today, Pink Floyd. I got to say, my overall favorite rock groups of all time, there's three of them,
Yes.
and I'm leaving a lot of ones out that I love. Weezer, I love Weezer. I'm a huge Weezer fan. I just really fucking love them. I just think they can do anything. They can't do no wrong, Weezer. They're just an amazing sound, that group.
Hmm.
But my three groups that I'd have to say is my favorite is Led Zeppelin, Pink Floyd, and the Doors,
Yep.
right? But you also
Yes.
got to throw in there. You also got to throw in there.
Um,
I don't know. I'm in the Beatles. I was into a lot too,
oh
man. I
yeah.
really was.
We got to give them
You know.
credit because, yeah, like we mentioned earlier, they're the ones who really got the
Well, dude.
scene
I
in
mean, like,
small
did you really
bars.
get into their music? The
Yes. Oh
Beatles, like,
hell yeah. Oh hell yeah. I was a
I got
Beatles
so into
fanatic.
their music. Yeah, so was I, man. At one point, like, I really got crazy with the Beatles at one point, and then I started listening to all the separate shit they did in
Yeah.
the '70s and '80s, and
Yes.
like I love that music too. You know what I mean? And Paul McCartney was amazing in the fucking '80s.
Yeah.
So was
George
George
Harrison.
Harrison.
Yeah.
George Harrison made some fucking unbelievable music
And
solo.
and Paul McCartney is the only Beatle that out there still tours and puts out records. When you
Still
think
going,
about
man.
yeah,
Still going. He's a clone, bro. He's a clone. You didn't know that?
yeah, I remember that whole scenario. Yeah, we know. I think that was done on, and it's also we got to point this out.
Keith Richards is a clone, if anything.
I'm surprised that Keith Richards. So, but then again, I read in Facebook that he quit smoking. I guess he wants to compete with Betty White.
Yeah. He wants to live to 150.
Yeah, most likely. I know
Yeah.
somebody will probably. I remember Jay Leno saying if talking about a movie called "Death Takes a Holiday." I think it was called Date with what's it called, Mr. Black, and where Brad Pitt
I want to
plays
fuck Jay
Death.
Leno's chin.
It
I
was
want to
kind.
fuck Jay Leno's dimple in his chin. Like, you ever see that fucking thing?
Yes, I have. Yes,
You could put
definitely.
a dick in that, bro. You could sneak a cock in it. I'm just kidding. But go ahead. I'm
Oh,
just
it
fucking around.
looks it looks like a camel toe when you think about it.
Yeah, it's like my cousin Chris's chin.
Oh
Like
shit.
a family of four could live in there.
Awandi's in the chat. What's up, Awandi? What's going on?
Awandi, 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 Awandi.
It's, it's kind of funny, and that's what I would love to take if I had my choice. I would take if I had a TARDIS of my own. I would go back to around 1980s when Eazy-E was still alive. Get all the members of NWA, bring them back to the present, and introduce them to all these mumble rappers that are out there today. And it's like and tell them
Yeah.
and give them a lesson on how rap music was done because a lot of this stuff is either emo or it's hard to understand.
Dr. Earl, do you have Netflix?
We do have Netflix. Yes, we do. I don't really watch it that much.
All right,
Everybody out
listen.
of the house usually
I
does.
well, there is a miniseries on there, and it's called The Evolution of Hip Hop.
Mm.
And I know we're talking about rock and roll, but it has a lot to do with it because it shows how rock and roll had an influence on hip hop early in the beginning. And I highly recommend to watch that documentary on hip hop because it really shows you how everything formed and what was going on and what made it what it is and like where it is now and all that stuff. And it's pretty cool. And it ties into rock and roll too. You know,
Yes, absolutely.
ties into rock music, Aerosmith and all that shit.
I'm thinking. You remember the soundtrack to the movie Judgment Night? I guess it was in '95.
Yes, of course, man. That was a great soundtrack,
Yeah,
dude.
because it
That's
got
when soundtracks mattered in movies, bro.
yeah.
That's when you would buy a soundtrack to a movie and you'd like, yo, every song on there is fucking awesome. And
Yeah.
they'd be all different groups, too.
Yes, all collaborations. It was
Yeah.
basically collaborations between rappers and rock bands, like a
Yeah. Why they
face.
stop doing that shit, man?
I
Like, why
don't
would they
know.
stop?
I don't know. I guess it was a one-time thing only for the
So many good music came out of that. So much good music came out of that,
and
man. You
and I
know?
s- and I still remember some of that stuff being played at the clubs. What was a? It was I guess it was a House of Pain and
Yeah, yeah,
Helmet
dude.
doing the
I remember
Just
that.
Another
Yeah, yeah.
Victim.
Yo, I remember fucking MC Hammer doing the Adams Family. Do 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 do
Oh gosh, that was
do do do
horrible.
do. I remember that. They do what they want to do, say what they want to say. Adams Family. Remember
Yes, I
that?
remember. I was like, oh gosh.
uh, but you're right. That what about Higher Learning?
Oh yeah,
Do you remember that movie?
I remember the
Remember the
movie,
soundtrack?
but I don't think I heard anything. I recall hearing anything from that disc there. But
No, man, that was a good soundtrack. Also,
mm,
Howard Stern's movie
oh
had a
yeah, I
great,
remember.
great soundtrack, man.
Yeah,
It had a couple of really good groups on there. Do you remember that song that goes "Under the Tahitian sun,
I
or
think
under the
so.
Tahitian moon"?
Hmm.
Oh,
I think I remember it. Who was it by?
it was that singer that was with Jane's Addiction.
Oh, Perry Farrell.
Yes, Perry Farrell. He sang this. This was a side thing that he did, and it was called "Under the Tahitian Moon." It's a great fucking song, man. And I think it was on that soundtrack to Howard Stern movie,
I think it was,
Private
and
Parts. Yeah,
dude,
Private Parts,
and also
which had a
Hunter,
great soundtrack. It's a great
also
soundtrack.
Hunter. What's his last name? I cannot pronounce his last name.
Ooh.
Dorvac, Hunter Dorak, I think it is. He said, "quote unquote." You also had Anthrax and Public Enemy coming together to do a metal version of
Oh
Bring the
God, when
Noise.
they together, dude, that was. Let me tell you something, man. I was a huge Public Enemy fan at that
Oh
point
yeah,
because
so was
I
I.
lived I lived right
Uh-huh.
around the block from Flavor Flav, which Scott thinks I'm lying about it, but I really did. I used to see Flavor Flav all the time, and he they came out with Public Enemy number one song, and it was like a year and a half into it, and all of a sudden, all these other dudes that knew my sister used to listen to Anthrax, and I knew about them through them. And they were really big on the rap scene because they used to try to rap on their shit. So a lot of like
Yeah.
the rap heads would know who Anthrax was.
Yes.
And all of a sudden, when they said Anthrax is coming out with a collaboration with Public Enemy, people were like, "Oh my god, that's going to be insane!" And sure enough, when it came out, it was fucking
Blew
insane because
up. It blew up the
Chuck
blew
D was
us
Chuck D rapped over a fucking
metal truck.
uh, a metal track,
Yeah.
basically,
Yeah.
because it was metal. They turned it into metal. They were like,
Yeah.
and you want to know something?
Yes.
Anthrax in the studio was like, no, we're not going heavy on the hip hop. We're going heavy on the metal side. And they were like, yo, we can't rap to it unless it's heavy on the hip hop side. They wanted more bass and more drums. And Anthrax was like, absolutely not. We're going to do this metal style and you're going to rap over it. We're going to give you like a bass line with the metal. And he was like, you can't do it. And they did it because the bassist to Anthrax was
Yes.
so good that he could nail a bass where he in that song he nailed this bass like riff that was insane.
Yeah.
And Chuck D was able to rap on it because of that bass riff. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah.
They made it sound like they went from that heavy metal sound and they
Yes.
made it sound like heavy metal mixed with hip hop, like perfectly. You
Yeah.
know
Oh
what a
yeah.
song that was, bro. That
Oh, it
song was
was.
insane, man.
That
I remember
when
when that song dropped, people were like, "What the fuck?"
that was hard. It said, let's not. Oh, so here's a little trivia.
We're
Prior
gonna
to
be number one. Oh my god, that was crazy.
yeah,
I'm gonna have to listen to that after
yeah,
this.
yeah, definitely. Prior to the Run DMC Aerosmith collaboration, Anthrax did play on an album called Lethal by a rap group called
Yes,
UTFO.
yes, I
And that was
remember
back in
that.
1985, a year before
Yeah,
that.
dude, that was a long time ago, bro.
Yeah, I know.
Yep. Do you know that? You know how long Rage Against the Machine's been around, man?
I'm not too sure. I just remember the first
Dude,
album came
about
out in
this.
'93. It was, yeah.
I was talking about this with Filthy the other day, and we were like, man, they got back together in like 1989.
Hmm.
Rage Against the Machine got together,
Yes.
and the lead singer of the group, which is a rapper, really,
Yeah, Zach De
he,
La
he
Rocha.
yeah, Zach De La Rosa, he was rapping back then on tracks, but rapping like they rap now.
Yeah.
You know, he was saying stuff they say now, but back then. So he was so ahead of his time, and the bassist Tom Farrell,
Yeah.
who is just fucking unbelievable
The guitar
bassist.
player. I think it's the
Oh,
bass player
guitar
is
player and
yeah.
bassist. Yeah, yeah. No,
Yeah,
you're right
Tim
about that. He's a
Comerford
different
it
guitar
was
player.
the bass player.
but he plays the guitar like a bass. He plays the guitar like a fucking bass. The guy,
Yeah,
like he uses weird instruments on the guitar. He like
yeah.
fucking plays all
A
these
lot
like
of the
bass line riffs, and he's just amazing with what he does. And that guy like had a sound that no one else had at that point. No other guitarist could play like him.
no, because he mixed a lot of the different sounds effects with various regular pedals, whereas a
Yeah,
regular guitar player would have to use a guitar synthesizer or different
yeah.
other pedals
This
just to
guy was
create that sound.
amazing.
Yeah,
You want to talk about rock? That's rock and roll right there too,
yeah.
man.
Hmm.
He
So
was playing good rock and roll, man. That was rock and roll with hip hop lyrics on it.
I know, yeah. So I also want to clarify something here since we're talking about Rage Against the Machine because I've seen a lot of memes out there, people putting out there because they're supposed to be doing a reunion tour, but the
Yes,
tickets
they
are
are.
like yeah, and this but
On a Monday and a Tuesday, dude. It's the dumbest fucking thing I've ever heard in my life, bro.
wow, wow,
They're
eh,
only coming on for a Monday and a Tuesday.
wow, and you got to work on those days, I believe.
Yeah, who the fuck? Yeah, who the fuck wants to go to a concert on a Monday or a Tuesday? Like, why the fuck would they do that?
I know.
New York, and I was saying, man, it must have been because of scheduling. It's got to be because of scheduling.
Yeah, so that's how tour dates usually happen when you book a tour there. You know, but
Yeah.
how do you feel about the cost of the tickets for these shows?
Oh God, dude, it's ridiculous, man. But you know what? People will pay it because when's the next time you ever going to get to see Rage Against the Machine again? You
Yeah,
know what
who
I mean?
knows? They could probably
Like,
be breaking up tomorrow after this tour. They could
yeah,
go back their
I
separate
remember.
ways. And plus,
I
let me.
remember I went and saw Metallica at the Garden, right? And
Yes.
back in '98, I saw Metallica at the Garden in '98. And when I was buying the tickets, I was iffy if I should buy them or not, and they
Mm,
were expensive back then. And my friend was like, "Yo, man, when are you ever gonna? When they'll probably split up and never be together again, man.
yes.
Like, when are you ever gonna get to see Metallica again at the Garden?" And I was like,
Yeah.
"You know what? You're right." And I bought the seats and I went, and I was so happy that I went because honestly, after like '99. Metallica really wasn't touring that much for a
Mm,
while, you
yeah.
know? So, I
Yes.
mean, now I think they're touring again, but still, it was to go see them in '98. That was like the end of their run. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Hmm.
So they were still good. They were still loud at that point,
Yeah.
you know?
And
They're
this
not
is
loud anymore.
I know because well, I think because James Hetfield, they'll be touring again pretty soon because I think James Hetfield got out of rehab not too long ago.
Yeah, I mean, Hetfield's fucking, what is wrong with this guy, man? 60 something years old, like, stop already.
Yeah, I know. And also, but then again, you got to remember, some people have a hard time quitting the alcohol. It comes back. I mean, look at Ozzy Osbourne. He had so many issues with the bottle
I
back in
know,
that
now
day.
he's sick now, man. He's got
Yeah,
fucking
Parkinson's
Parkinson's.
disease. Yeah, he's had.
Man, fuck,
That was back in 2003, believe it or not, which
yeah.
explains all the shaking his hands was doing when we
Oh,
used to
yeah.
watch the Osbourne's program back on when it was on MTV.
He's looking like Michael J. Fox.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. And speaking of Rage Against the Machine, I was going to bring this up for everybody out
Yeah,
there
what?
complaining about the prices of the concert tickets.
Yeah.
That's usually the promoter's idea, because they got
Yeah, and the bands get pissed at that. And Rage Against the Machine is one of the groups that used to get pissed how
so did
much
Pearl
money
Jam.
was.
Yeah,
Yeah, and let me tell you something. Yeah, Pearl Jam is one of my favorite groups of all time too. I didn't add
yeah,
them into the mix, but let me tell you, man, I used to go across country to go see Pearl Jam. Like we would get tickets to go see Pearl Jam in Carolina, and we
hmm
would drive there, camp out like a day before, and go see Pearl Jam. Like we would buy tickets to go see them in Jersey, and we would go to New Jersey, and we would watch them and stay and go the night before and camp out and fucking make like a weekend of it. And like I loved Pearl Jam in the '90s, man. And it was from like '93 all the way from like '93 till about like 2000. I followed Pearl Jam everywhere. We went to all the concerts. We went to fucking, it was just crazy. It was crazy. I had a love for them at one point that was crazy. And their old albums, man, their fucking albums, bro. The first album was, I mean,
10.
come on, Dr. Earl, that's a
Yeah,
classic,
it
right?
is
You
alternative
rate that
grunge
album?
albums.
Yeah, man,
Alternative.
that's one of the greatest alternative rock albums of all time.
You no doubt. Next to I guess Soundgarden's Bad Motorfinger, the one with
Oh, that's another one. Yeah.
that I
Stone
did.
Temple Pilots.
Yeah,
What about Stone Temple Pilots, man? I used to love them.
I don't.
Soundgarden.
Yeah, I
What about what about
this to
Smashing
say.
Pumpkin?
Well, I wasn't much
Oh,
into Smashing Pumpkins, but it
I used to
does.
love.
But I
Wait,
have to
Dr. Earl,
say,
have you ever heard this song? Tell me who this is. You ready?
okay,
You ready?
yes, all right.
Here we go round like a blister in the sun. Here we go round.
Oh gosh, the Violent Femmes.
Again.
That was back in the
That's
'80s.
who that is, dude. That's I knew you'd know it.
Oh, that still gets played on the
Violent,
radio today, even on the alternatives
violent
stations.
femmes, man. Holy shit,
That
man.
was a big dub thing in the underground
I tell
world
you,
at that
Dr.
time.
Earl,
Yeah, yeah.
that's when I started getting into that type of music because
Ah,
I was all hip hop. When I was about 5 years old, I started listening to Fat Boys and fucking LL Cool J and Run DMC, right? And I was
yes,
into music. That's what I was into. Really, I was into R&B because my parents used to listen to that in
yes.
like 78, 80, 81, 82. It was all R&B, right? And then after that, it was all Cool in the Gang, right? And then after that, and all Hall and Oates. And then after that, then it became Run DMC, the Fat Boys, LL Cool J, right? And then after that, I went into like the late '80s with hip hop, and then I started to fade away. Once 1991 rolled around, that's when I started getting into like Nirvana and Pearl Jam and fucking all those groups, right?
Yes.
And I'd stay around like 96, 95. I started getting heavy into like the Doors and like Pearl Jam and Led Zeppelin, and all that stuff. And I went in all these patterns, man. It's crazy because I get into these patterns with music where it's like I'll latch on to something and I'll listen to it for like 8 months, 9 months straight. Like for instance, I listened to a lot of James Brown for a while, man. For like 3 years, that's all I was into was James Brown
Oh
shit. I don't
man,
know why. I just was into it so much. I don't know why, but I just was. I
because
was into playing it. I was into listening to it. I was into singing it. And then I got into a fucking Frank Sinatra, Dean Martin, fucking just like all the Sammy Davis, all those guys from back then, listening to all their shit and really studying it and listening to it and really enjoying it. Like I really started to enjoy that music. And then I got into Elvis, bro. Don't ask me
oh
how,
yeah.
but I got into Elvis so much where I researched his music like crazy. And you know what was going on, Dr. Earl? I was downloading discographies,
Mm.
right? And I was putting it into my iPad. And I was like downloading my whole entire library that I used to have that I got rid of, all CDs. And I put everything into my iPad. And I had like a billion songs in there, and I had everybody's discography. So like when I would download the discography, I would literally listen to that whole entire discography and like get so familiar with the person's music. You know, Billy
Mm-hmm.
Joel, another
Oh
guy
yeah.
that I
Another
went
New York
fucking
native. Yeah.
I went crazy with Billy Joel, man. I went absolutely crazy with him and started listening to him constantly. And I start listening to people so much that it's sickening after a while. I have to stop listening to it because I just wear it out.
Yeah. Yeah. There was this one cassette tape by Black
You
Sabbath
do
called.
that?
Yeah, I did. I wore out many cassette players. I had actually
Well, let me ask you
cassettes.
this:
Yeah.
who is your favorite groups? Like, what is your go-to music? What is your like favorite music of all time? If you was to get lost on an island and they were like, you could bring only one album with you,
Mm.
what would be the album?
My album, my one, it's a cross between the Beatles, Sergeant Pepper's, and the White Album because those two records were just phenomenal. I remember hearing Sergeant Pepper and while my dad was working on one of our cars in the garage, and get this, this was on what was called a four-track cartridge. It was similar to the eight-track, but it was
Yes, I know exactly what it is. Yes, I
yes.
know.
For those who don't know, it was like an eight-track cartridge, but instead of four programs, it was program one and program two. I was listening to the
Mhm.
whole Sergeant Pepper. I was like, holy cow, because back then I discovered the Beatles through that cartoon series that we ran
Yep.
in the 1960s. I was like, holy, I don't.
Yep.
So I only knew stuff like she loves you, or I want to hold your hand, or I'm a loser. And I'm here listening. It's like, holy cow, this is something way, way different. I'm like, holy crap. So that's when I
Yeah, man.
really started getting into them. Then I just started
What
picking up
year were
right.
you born?
I was born in 1966.
Oh, nice year.
Yeah, I got into them when I was about 11 years old. It was
So,
because of
so in the
that cartoon.
'70s,
Yeah.
you hit 10 years old, in the middle of the '70s, man.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, basically,
Did
it
you like
was
the '70s? What was your favorite era?
my favorite. Some, I guess, in terms of music originality and creativity, effort and energy, it would have to be the '70s because a lot of the bands back then put all of that into their music,
Yeah.
and they all had awesome stories to tell in those songs. Like we
Yep.
still, and a lot had a lot of mystery. I mean, like to this day, people like to bring up the subject behind Hotel California because you remember the whole talk
Yep.
about that song.
Yep.
And a lot of, plus the gatefold of the album cover, that mysterious figure up in that balcony. You ever heard
Yeah,
of that
man.
story? That today is missing in today's music scene. I think we
Yeah.
almost agree.
Oh
And
yeah, big time.
and I think a lot of these artists of today needs to start doing that again because the scene right now is in a standstill. It's
Yeah,
like it's not. It's
put some mystery and some, thrills into your music now. There's that's missing the theatric side.
yeah. And all these other bands are trying to do that, but they're doing copycat versions of it.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, and it's
Oh,
just not trying to rip off, trying to sound like this band, trying to sound like that band. I mean, like, look at they're talking about this group called Greta Van Vliet, or trying to sound like Led Zeppelin. I'm like, hey, wait a minute. Back in '88, there was this group called Kingdom Come that tried to do the same thing and almost got away with it.
yeah. You're good, man. You know your music, Doctor Earl. You
Yeah,
do.
yeah, yeah. Silver Raw Hunter said '70s had lots of disco. That was later on.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
you know what?
yeah.
I like disco, man. I have
Mm-hmm.
a spot for disco, man. I love disco, man. That
Ah,
was that was a great era of that music, man.
yeah.
Some of that music just makes you want to do an eight ball and have sex. You know what I mean?
I
Like
know exactly.
some of that music is just like it was made for speed. It was made for like, just grooving. It was
Weeds,
made for
angel
like,
dust, getting it on with your gal, pal, or whoever
yeah, man,
partner
it
you
was
had.
made for that. It was made
Yeah,
for free love and like, feeling good.
yeah,
And that music has its spot with me, man, because I love that era. I
yeah,
really do love that era.
yeah.
That
And
was a
I think,
great
and
era.
I think, from what I understand, the reason all that came about was because early on in the '70s, we were still dealing with the Vietnam War. We were still dealing
Yep.
with Richard Nixon and his debauchery, and people just switched around and said, "Screw it, we're done with the namby-pamby stuff. Let's have some fun, okay? Let's
Yep.
have fun."
Yep. Yeah, that's what they were looking for some fun.
And
That's what it
now,
became.
today, well, they said now basically the house music scene is basically where some of the disco scene music went to because you listen to the house music out there, and a lot of it was inspired by the by the disco scene.
Oh, Dr. Earl, the techno house scene
Yeah.
in Europe is huge. In places like Germany
Yep.
and
Amsterdam.
yeah, Amsterdam and Switzerland, and those places are huge with the underground club scene and music, like it
I.
was in the '90s and '80s in New York City.
Oh
It's
yeah.
like that there now, and they're coming out with their own music and their own style of music over there
Yeah,
right now
yeah, I
too.
know. But Speedy
You know?
J, Chris Liebing,
Yeah.
there's this one man who's from Windsor, Canada, who's a favorite in Detroit. It was favored on the Detroit techno scene. His name is Richie Houghton. He now lives in Germany. He was the man behind this techno project called Plastic Man. They released tons of albums. He did a collaboration with this guy named Peter Namlook called From Within, which is set in parts one, two, or three, which I highly recommend, folks, as well as you.
Yeah.
And plus, there's this is one album by Amsterdam native. His name is Speedy J. He had put out a couple of good albums like A Dangerous Hobby and my personal favorite, Public Energy Number One, which is still an awesome record. Highly, highly recommend that, Ken. You gotta check it
What,
out.
what
So
kind of music?
it's electronic. It's kind of similar to industrial, basically. But
Yeah,
it
I
is
like that.
oh yeah,
I
it
like
is.
that.
You will not be disappointed, and you won't be disappointed with the other one I mentioned. A Dangerous Hobby came out in 2000. Definitely.
Yeah, I like that stuff, man. You
I
know who
got
I
it.
used to be into?
Who?
Oh, what the fuck's their name again? They used to sing that song. Um, Du hast, du hast mich.
Rammstein.
Yeah,
They're coming to
dude.
America to tour pretty soon.
Yeah, well, dude, Rammstein just came out with a new song about like a year ago,
Ah,
right?
yes.
You know what song I'm talking about?
I don't think I've heard. I haven't really heard that much,
Dude, let
because
me tell you, Dr. Earl, it was fucking still banging. Like, the guy's still banging. Like, that group still can hit it. They're
man,
still on the mark. They're still on the mark, those guys, bro.
yeah, that's why they're selling out arenas, not just because of pyrotechnics that they
Oh,
have
they
on
are
the
so
show.
good, though, man.
Yeah,
And you
they
want to know
are.
something? They're very progressive now, and they're
Yeah,
very, like, it's like what you just said. They're very into electroid type shit now.
yeah.
And I love their
It
shit,
was
man.
basically
It's good.
pure industrial metal. That's the best way to put
Yeah,
it, which we all love. I love it.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Ah, shit. We all. There was, thank goodness for guys like that, that be
yeah.
for being around, because most. What do you think of the heavy metal today? Like, you think it's too
Well,
dark, it's too gritty, or do you think they're trying to, or too
you
some?
know what? I think, okay, well, a guy who was very, very, very into the death metal, satanic, like death metal shit
Mhm.
is Mr. Billy Ricky,
Ah,
formerly
yes,
of YouTube.
yeah,
Uh, and he was heavily, heavily into that shit, right? And
yes.
he would come up with some good stuff. And Filthy Mouth Gamer, he knows of the groups that were around '90s, like late '80s, '90s, and some early 2000s, and some now. But I think the groups of today, I think they're living off of yesterday too much, and I think they all have the same sound
Yeah,
right now. I think
yeah.
too many groups have they're not separating themselves, and they're not pulling themselves out of the pack. I think that genre. I think all the groups sound similar in that genre, and you know what? It's the same thing for hip hop. I think
Yes.
hip hop at this point is the same thing. I think that it sounds the same in the genre. There's no one separating themselves, and I think that's the problem with music right now, just in general. Nobody's individual anymore. No one's,
It's follow the format, follow what's trending, follow what the scene is, let's follow this. It's in
yeah.
order to
It's either a
get
big,
views on
it's either a
YouTube
big
or
hip hop. It's like nowadays, it's either a big hip hop song, a big pop song, or a big mainstream,
rock song.
pop song, like rock, wannabe rock song, but it's pop, really.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And they call it rock, but it's pop.
Yeah. Or
And I
or what they
it's
call
just
happy hardcore in a way.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And I think it's all watered down and it's all generic and it's all, I think someone needs to step up. And I think there's going to be very soon a group or an artist or something that is going to come along that is going to make everybody fucking be like, whoa, again. Like, wow, this
Like,
person just changed everything.
yeah, like Marilyn Manson did when he debuted it in '94 with under the tutorage
Oh,
of
he
Trent
changed
Reznor.
everything.
He
Yeah, he was a
fucked a
throwback.
lot of shit up.
Dude,
Yeah.
he was a throwback at that point. He was a throwback to the guys that came before him at that point.
Jim
But he was
Morrison, Iggy
also,
Pop.
yeah, but he was also ahead of his time.
Yeah, he was.
He really was. He was ahead of his time too, because he
Yeah.
knew what rock was going with it. He knew that Nine Inch Nails was coming out, and like all those groups that came out at the end of that rock and roll era.
Mhm.
He knew where it was going.
Yeah. Yeah, he knew
And
knew how to shake
yeah, and
some
that was
shit up.
different. He was different. He was different, and he had different music, and he was doing some cover music, but he was also great at it, and he also had his own sound.
And he had
You know?
expressed a lot of teenage angst that a lot of kids at that time were
Yeah.
going through.
Well,
So that's why they were
you
able
remember
to relate.
Eminem?
Yes.
You remember Eminem saying, "Blame it on Marilyn, blame it on Manson,"
Yes, I
blame it
remember
on
that
Marilyn
song. Yeah,
Manson.
they blamed because would it fit to say that that whole controversy with that school shooting in Colorado? Do you think that that did damage to Manson? Because after a while, because I remember people were talking about since that controversy erupted, that somehow
Yeah,
somewhere most of the radio stations hardly stopped playing some of his songs. His records stopped selling a little bit.
dude, his career went down the tubes ever since then, man.
Yeah,
If you
and
think about it,
yeah,
he
and he
never
even
was where
admitted,
he
he even
was.
said so. That whole scenario that happened, and it just ponders the shit out of me that all the parents out there, all these people blaming Marilyn Manson for that when either they got their heads up their ass or is just in complete denial, because we know the reason why they do it is because to the kids, picking up a gun was the only way to get rid of these bullies. Because they're not going to stop. They're not going to keep on, keep on. The only way to end it all is they'll get a gun and shoot them all down. But they're not realizing what the consequences are. And when they figure
Yeah,
out at the last minute, they figure, oh shit, I'm going to go to jail because they raped in the showers. I let my mom and dad and my family down. What can I do? I'm going to blow ourselves. We're going to blow ourselves away. Boom.
yeah. And what does 95% of those shooters do? They blow themselves away,
Yeah, I
right?
said because they know their goals, they're evil. They know the consequences that's going to come about. They know what's going to happen. But they're not also realize that they're putting the Second Amendment under the huge critical microscope as well by doing this. This is what advocates
Yeah,
gun control. But then again, Filthy said it best. It's going to get coverage for a couple of weeks. People are going to cry out for more gun control. Then it's going to go away until the next shooting incident comes about.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Anyways, man. Yeah, but
Unfortunately,
yeah, sadly, So all the people out there are saying, "Oh, yeah," but then again, they did the same. Complained about Jim Morrison. They complained about
yeah. Look, they
Ozzy
arrested Jim
Osbourne.
Morrison on
Yeah,
stage, man.
yeah,
You know?
remember that footage? Yeah, because he was going off on a cop that maced him earlier that
Yeah,
night. And let's not
yep.
forget the whole scenario that happened in Miami, where he was allegedly exposed as pecker on stage there.
Yeah, he did. He did, dude.
Yeah.
He did stick out that fuck.
Um, and then also, let's not forget, apparently, I guess, they arrested Prince for some obscene act back in the 80s because,
Yep.
yeah. And plus,
Elvis. They wanted
oh,
the parents were telling their kids not to watch Elvis.
yeah, them heard Ed
They would
Sullivan
blur
had,
out his hips.
yeah,
They
they
would
had,
blur out his hips on TV. What the
yeah,
fuck, man?
now, because back then censorship was pretty much, things were very touchy back then. You can't show this, can't
Oh,
say that. Remember here's another Doors story. You may know this. When they debuted on the Ed Sullivan Show, they were told not to sing words, "Girl, we can't get much higher." But they
yeah,
didn't,
I know.
and they decided to sing it
And now
anyways.
they're smoking weed on the Tonight Show.
No, oh
You
gosh,
know that? Now
I
they're
really,
smoking weed. Fucking
oh,
Tonight Show. I
oh
remember when
shit,
Cypress Hill came out,
oh yeah,
an album that was all about weed, right?
oh
And
yes.
I remember the radio stations wouldn't play it, and it was some of the greatest music that was out at that time, and they wouldn't play it, right? And now you fast forward 30 years later, and on the Tonight Show, Jimmy Fallon's got, I forgot who it was, but whoever it was had one of those fucking things, and they're smoking weed on the Tonight Show. And he's like, hey, fuck it, it's legal in California. And he's like, yeah, but we're in New York. And they started dying laughing. And I'm
Oh
like,
shit.
holy shit, like they let him
Damn.
do that.
Damn. I never knew
Yeah,
about that
dude.
till now. Damn.
On the Tonight Show, bro.
Damn. A mainstream show of all
Yeah,
places.
that's where we're going with it now, man. Because every state is starting to legalize it,
Yeah.
and Trump is saying if he wins re-election, he's going to legalize it in all the states. So now, even if your state votes against it, it doesn't matter. It's no more legalized. It's not legalized anymore.
Yeah.
That means
Yes.
you can travel over state line with it as
Yep.
long as it's not open and in your car. You know what I mean? Like you can't be smoking it obviously when you're driving, but that
Obviously,
means
yeah.
you don't get arrested no more, and there'll be stores everywhere.
Yeah.
And it's mainstream. Like you go to a bar, alcohol is 100 times worse than fucking marijuana.
Yeah. Think of yeah. Absolutely. And plus,
You
when
know,
you
you
think
never hear people dying on marijuana or killing people on
nope.
marijuana.
Or ODing on marijuana. It's
Yeah,
compared to shit like LSD or crack, heroin, or this ice or this methamphetamines. Weed is
yeah,
pretty
exactly.
harmless. Think about that, folks.
It is, man. It
Yeah.
is. It helps out more people than hurts them.
Yeah, exactly. Now,
You know?
if you have cancer or if you're anorexic, I remember hearing about this. They were giving weed to people with anorexic or bulimia
Yeah.
problems, so it helps them
You have
eat a lot
sleeping
more.
problems. If you
Yeah.
can't sleep right, if you have like a stuttering problem,
Yeah.
marijuana is good. If you have seizures, marijuana is good. If you like, there's so many good things, and there's so little bad about it. You know,
I know.
and
Yes,
it
exactly.
grows. It grows right out of the ground, man.
Yeah,
You don't have to
all
touch nothing.
natural,
You don't have
all
to add
herbal.
nothing. Yep. You want to
Exactly.
be green? You want to go green? Go marijuana green. That's what I say. Stop
Yeah,
going fucking green. You want to go green? Go marijuana
yeah,
green.
exactly. That's me. So, if like I said, if Trump gets reelected, he's going to try to work on legalizing marijuana in all 50 states. So let's
Yeah,
see.
that's going to be like one of his things now. He's going to be saying.
Yeah, because I
I hope this guy Bloomberg don't win, bro, because this guy Bloomberg is a fucking little midget retard.
I know you got a lot to say. You should probably know you got a lot to say about him on your show tomorrow night. Definitely.
Oh, he's such a waste, man. That guy, man. He ran New York for 12 years, and he fucking was such a weird fuck. He tried to ban soft drinks, like you're
I
trying to ban
remember
soda in the
that.
city. How dare you try to ban soda in New York City, you fucking imbecile? You know, like, what do you think this is prohibition? Fucking idiot.
Oh God, he's this guy's
Then he had stop and frisk, bro. He literally had cops in New York City and all the five boroughs just randomly stopping people and frisking them.
just for no
It was called
reason.
stop and frisk. Yeah, they would just walk up to you and stop you and frisk you.
That's stupid. That's like under
And you'd be
prisoners
like,
on
"Excuse me,
race
why?"
rights.
You'd be like, "Excuse me, why are you frisking me?" And they'd be like, "Just because we random frisking people." Like, you're not supposed to frisk me. I'm a fucking American. Like, you're frisking me. Like, get your hands off me.
Yeah, but they didn't care. But you know how some people are. They like to feel they're above the law and stuff. And
Yeah,
that's why
man, this guy does, and now he's gonna buy himself, the Democratic nomination, man. This
ain't
fucking
gonna
guy.
work. Ain't gonna work. I
I
know it
hope
ain't gonna
not.
work. I hope not. I think we're all agree. This guy's a absolute douchewad.
Yeah, he is, man. If he becomes president, he's gonna try to stop everybody from drinking soda.
He's gonna
He's gonna
try
be like,
every.
"Yeah,
He's
how
gonna
long I
prob.
have soda?"
He's gonna probably try and make everybody stop smoking weed. Think about that
Hey,
as
he's
well.
gonna go after. He's gonna go after Tommy NC 2010, who we didn't talk about.
Oh yeah, we need to address this now. As you know, for everybody who knows, I know Costanza in the chat up there. Shout out to you, brother. He's one of my big fans of my channels and my work there on my channel
Oh,
here.
nice,
Yeah,
nice.
he's shown sends me things about Tommy NC. He makes a lot of remarks about Tommy NC 2010 a lot of times. Because as you
Mm-hmm.
know, I know Ken never knew this, but I was on Joe's program on last summer. I was
Uh,
broadcasting from our automobile, so that way I was able to talk louder instead of waking everybody up.
yeah, yeah.
And Joe was talking about, here's these two autistic people, and Tommy starts in on me because of the videos that I did on him. Now keep in mind, my first video on him was defending him because I saw that clip of him crying over getting death
What do you
threats
mean? What do you mean? Two autistic people?
to me and Tommy. Remember, he's autistic, and so am I.
Wait. What do you mean you're autistic?
Yeah, I have what they call a slight case of autism. In fact, when I first
Really?
called, yeah,
I didn't even know that, dude.
yeah, I explained it the fifth when I first called your program. I said I'm autistic myself, and I get
I,
Tommy
I
has my support, and that's of
yeah,
course
I'm kind of autistic myself too, man.
so
Yeah.
you could probably relate to what Tommy is going through. But the thing is,
Well, I
I
mean, no, I'm not like him, but but I could fucking, I'm dyslexic, and I have like a
ah
couple other things.
yeah. Now I did a couple videos addressing first the homeless, that way he treated that homeless guy.
Yeah, I saw your videos. I saw your videos.
Yeah,
Yeah.
now Tommy believes that those videos were shitting on
Well,
him.
he listened to them. He listened to them, and the way that he felt was, he was like, who the fuck is he to give me advice, and who is he to call me out on my private life?
Yeah, but then again,
That's how he felt.
that's how I felt. But I tried to explain to him that, there was advice, was trying to help you in the long run because I've been through the same thing myself. But
Yeah.
it's then
And
see,
what did he say to that?
he starts screaming at me, saying I'm shitting on him, saying he wants to do things to me that he never thought he would done, and he was holding
Oh
a
my
knife when he
God.
said
Oh
that. Yeah,
my God.
he says he
Well,
hates
listen,
me. Yeah.
listen. I know Tommy very well. You know that, right?
Yes,
So
correct.
I'll I'll tell you this right now, Doctor Earl.
Hmm.
You're a kind-hearted guy, right?
Yes.
And I've known you to be a kind-hearted dude, right? I wouldn't be talking to you right now if you weren't. I always known you to be a decent person. You kid around every once in a while, just like everyone else does.
Yeah.
And honestly, Like, okay, maybe Tommy's right. Like, okay, who are you to give him advice? But you made that clear. You said, hey, I made some of these mistakes, and this is my advice, and I want to try to help him out. Instead of, I'm not shitting on him, I'm trying to help him.
Yes.
So he doesn't get that though. He's not going to get that. If he thinks that
No.
you're fucking with him, he's going to think you're fucking with him. The best bet is if you ever wanted to just move on with him, is to be like, hey man, I'm sorry if you didn't like the videos.
I
That's
do.
it.
Actually, I did.
Yeah, that's it. No?
Believe it or not, here's another detail. We both was on Joe's program on another Friday night, and he even suggested the same thing. Hudsu and Tommy apologized to each
Weren't
other.
you guys just on my show together too?
Yeah, but Tommy left a couple. But Tommy, the last time, Tommy left
Oh, that's
early.
why he left.
Yeah, because
That's why he left the show.
yeah, he left because I
Yeah,
came on.
because you came on my show and then Tommy left, and I was trying to figure out why he left, and it's got to. Yeah, now I know why.
And here's something else. He didn't want to do it. Last Friday night, um, I was on JB's program doing a Jeopardy style game called Stump the Dummy, and
Oh,
Tommy
Street
was
Smart.
yeah no
Oh, I'm sorry.
Stump the
Uh,
Dummy. Stump the
oh,
Dummy
something
is
dumb.
yeah it's
Yeah.
which I won, which I won the first
Oh,
ever Dummy
nice.
Cup. Yeah,
Congratulations.
thank you. And Tommy didn't want to, was very reluctant to come on because I was going to be on. He said he doesn't want to be on the
Didn't you
program with
win
me.
Street Smarts too?
Did he? Did I?
No, no. I said, didn't you win Street Smarts too when
No,
you
I
were
never.
on it?
No, I never participated on that. I was usually at work
I
there to
thought you
clean
did.
up.
Yeah, I thought you did.
No, I never did.
Oh,
No, I never did.
I
Sadly, I don't know. But at the
could have
time when you were
sworn, I
doing
could have
it, I
sworn you
was.
did.
No, I was at the. I was cleaning up at work when you were doing that spot on
It was
your
only it was
programs.
Wednesday nights. Yeah, it was only
Yes.
Wednesday.
Yeah. I was working at that time cleaning it up, because we were closing. But
Yeah,
Tommy made it clear he does not want to be on a program with me if I was
yeah,
on,
yeah.
whether it's like here's something else. One episode of Monetize This, I told Joe I was going to call from a place downtown Houston called Numbers, which I did,
Yeah.
and I said they were like, you gotta hit up on some girl, and I saw this girl. I bring her over. I introduced her to Joe and the boys, JB and the crew, and that show, everyone was like, Earl, yeah, Earl's talking to a hot girl. People are like saying, go for it, Earl. And you saw all the attention was drawn towards me instead of Tommy. So Tommy called it at night.
Yeah.
Yeah, so basically everyone was saying, like Dr. Earl stole Tommy's clout. Dr. Earl outdid Tommy. So and someone has even said in the donations that a black person shows up and Tommy leaves. Just saying.
Well, hey, look, people are saying that I'm trying to convince you not to go on certain people's
I
shows,
know
right?
I know we got to address that as well. Scott
Yeah.
McKinnon on your one of yours on Insomniacs a couple weeks
Oh, it
back.
was.
Yeah, we
Why he
need.
said it over there?
No, he said it in your chat. He said that Joe and Lee are accusing Ken of getting in
Oh,
Earl's ear for about not appearing on Monetize This, which is not
I
true.
hope that's not fucking true, man.
That's not
Because
true. Not
I
true.
mean, like, I hope
Not.
the fuck, like, it's not true that they think that. Because I mean, I've never once even spoken to you about. I don't think I even talked to you about Joe at all.
No,
Like,
you
I don't think I
haven't.
even
No, you never
mentioned Joe.
did. No, we know you
Yeah.
haven't. All the time in fact, the only time we spoke other than last night, and was before that episode where you wanted to see if it was okay to play that segment that Chris did of me and Erotic Kitty.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah. I hit you up and I said, "Hey, man, like, um, my cousin Chris did a bit with you and Erotic Kitty, and I wanted to know if you cared if I played it, and it's kind of like it's gaggy, a little bit fucking stupid, but
Yeah,
and I explained it to you, and you
yeah,
were you were cool with it, no
yeah.
matter what,
Yes, it was. I
and
liked it a
and that
lot.
was awesome,
Yeah.
because some people get pissed off with shit like that, Watch on. All right, I was coming back in. All right.
Oh, you're outside.
Yeah, yeah, I was outside.
Okay,
But
so
yeah, man, I mean, you were cool with that, So
yeah,
like
it
it
was
was,
kind of fun. A lot of fun to listen
yeah,
to.
yeah, and as far as like me telling you, yeah, like I said, I don't think I've ever even had a conversation with you about Joe or his show or anything having to do with his show ever before. I don't think I've ever even spoken to
No,
you
we
about
no,
his show.
never had at all.
You know, I don't
And
remember any conversation having to do with
let
Cronin. I'm trying to, like, as you said that, I'm trying to think of, did I ever speak to him about like the show or anything? And I don't think I've ever had a conversation with you about his show.
never have.
Or
In fact, let me
yeah,
clarify something here for the people there. And speak to sort of fans of Monetize this. The reason I have not been able to appear on his show is because I have to get up way early in the morning to go to my job, which starts at currently on Saturdays at 8 a.m. So I have to get
yeah,
lots of sleep. So that's probably the big reason why. Because we're right now short on staff. A couple of our cooks got fired for failing drug tests and all that. So we all of us have got to do mostly double duties. So that's what's
yeah,
going
yeah,
on right now. So no one
yeah.
has been in my ear about coming on, monetize this. I'd like coming on and monetize this, but I have to. It all depends if they put me back on coming to either noon or 10 a.m. like they used to. So
Yeah, see, now I've never made you feel like uncomfortable at all being on my show or that show or this show. Like I've never
never.
once made you feel uncomfortable,
You
correct?
make
Like
you make you make me feel welcome, like a brother.
thank you, man,
Yeah.
thank you. Because I honestly, I don't care if like I don't if people are on one show, it doesn't matter to me. And like if they're gonna be on my show, I'll call in. I just take it as like um, if they want to call my show, it's awesome. Like, and I'll take almost anybody's phone call.
Yeah.
And it's like, thank you for calling
I know.
because like no one could call me. You know what I mean? And I could be sitting there with my thumb up my ass and get no callers at all. So I don't shun anybody. Especially if it's like people like you. And I do mention, hey, you can catch Dr. Earl on a lot of the shows, like because you call into a lot of the shows. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
that's why I say that
Yeah.
because you are a regular on a lot of the shows. You
Yeah,
know?
so it was, super ugly show, Minnesota Vikings
Yeah,
fan,
yeah,
even Scott
exactly.
McKinnon, who I did call to clarify not true, as to clarify no one's
Yeah,
been in
yeah,
my ear.
yeah.
But then again, you know how Scott likes to stir up the drama a little bit to
Well, I
make it
mean,
more
listen, he might
interesting.
have. Well, he might have heard or been speculating as far as like if Joe and Leah think that or whatever the case may be,
Yeah.
or maybe he heard something. I don't know, but all I do know is I
Hmm.
don't. I didn't try to convince you of anything, and I don't try to convince anybody else out there of anything. And like
Hmm.
look at Alex Payne.
Yes.
He's a guy who comes on my show quite frequently, and he's on Drew's show, and Drew and me aren't talking, like we don't see eye to eye anymore,
Uh huh.
obviously.
Yeah,
So
I heard.
I don't
Yeah.
have a problem with that. I don't have a problem with that. I don't pressure him to leave the show or to like stick up for me or anything like that. I'm my own person. I don't need people to back me. I have my crew at Foul Mounts, and
Hmm.
my crew and me, we're as tight as glue. Like literally nothing could ever split us up on YouTube. The only
I
thing
know.
that could ever happen would happen in real life. And honestly, the YouTube shit is like, I try to separate that from real life. And some people have gone into the real life area. You know what I
Yes.
mean? Like where I'm friends with them on the outside, like Tommy NC 2010. Like I
Yeah.
speak to him. He calls me frequently. So, like I made a little relationship with him outside of YouTube, and there's a couple of other guys that I have grown close to over the years that I've been cool with, and people I speak to on Twitter and people that I keep in contact with, and I check in on, and whether they're giving me money or they're not, it bears no difference. I check in on these people because I honestly care for these people because I
I
know
know.
who they are and what they do and where they are in their lives, and I think about them and I not worry, but I want to see if things are okay, if things are all right, and I check in. You know what I mean? And I don't need to be paid for it. I don't need to be fucking bought for it, or and it's like I think people lose focus on why they're on here. And it's you come on here to experience friendship and people backing you and feeling that like you're doing something good, like you're doing something positive. You're also getting all your shit out.
Be a
You
part
talk
of,
about
also getting to
fine.
call, getting to know other people, being part of the
Yeah,
conversation.
yeah, you're not like even if you're a homebody and you're locked up in your house most of the time and you don't like to go out, I'm like that too. Like if I didn't have to leave my house, I fucking wouldn't.
Mm.
But like it's good for people like that that really don't leave much because they get to connect with other people from God only knows where, all around the world, So that's a big part of it too. A
Especially,
lot of people.
especially when you live in the area where there is no outside entertainment. This is the place to be.
Yeah,
This is your
yeah,
nightclub for the night.
yeah, and a lot of people have switched over to watching just YouTube and Twitch and shit like that because the regular TV, unless
Sucks.
you're watching your favorite show, it really sucks.
I know.
I mean,
Everything's
you
so
can watch
watered
all the
down.
movies. Yeah, you can watch all the movies you want to watch on an app. You can watch all the fucking TV shows you want on an app. So what's the sense of fucking putting your television on cable? What's the sense of putting your television on that? Put your television on YouTube and come on here and have fucking fun with people that are like you, people that are in your predicament, people that are in your situation, people that are living similar lives to you, and connect with those people, not the people that are on the silver screen that have no clue how you live and the
Yeah,
shit you're going through in your life. They have no clue. They're rich. They live in a fucking mountain in a mansion.
yeah.
Okay, they have no problems.
Trying to tell
These
us
people
what to
do.
vote for, what to support and stuff when they
Yeah,
don't
yeah,
know.
and they're telling you who you should vote for and what you should do and how you should live your life. But in reality, when you connect with people like myself, people like you, Dr. Earl, and
Yeah.
the people who come on here and pour their guts out and pour their hearts out, people like Scott, people like Joe Cronin too, when he's fucking being real and telling people like that, people like Filthy, people that are on here pouring their hearts out to you, whether you like them or not. Those are the people that you should connect with. Those are the people that you should fucking back and hear them out. Because you know what? They'll turn around and hear you out.
Mm.
They're not some actor in Hollywood that doesn't give a fuck what you say. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? They're not some politician up in Washington that doesn't care what you say or how you vote because they're getting in office anyway. Doesn't matter what you do or say.
Yes.
So it's like that's why people are connecting to this YouTube shit and to this turn the fucking cable off and put the tube on, put the YouTube on, put the Twitch on, put the fucking PlayStation on and go on. It's all about that now
This.
because people don't connect with it no more. They don't connect with the outside, with Hollywood. Like look, for instance, the that awards ceremony was on the other night, right?
The Oscars.
Oscars, right?
Yeah.
It had its worst ratings, man, and the ratings go down every year, and it's on its
Oh,
92nd fucking
oh
year
gosh.
of doing it. Okay, and the thing
Wow.
is, this show's been on TV for 92 fucking years now, right? And the
Yes.
ratings are so bad, and it's because nobody connects to the people that they're seeing on their TV anymore.
They're all fake as
It used to
hell.
be. Yeah, but it used to be years ago you would believe these people were what you thought they were. You didn't know they lived up in a fucking mansion in Hollywood. You didn't know that they have no worries in their lives. You thought that they were the same people that you are and the same people that they display on the TV show you watch or on the movie that you see of them. You thought that was them. No, they're like fucking Leonardo DiCaprio. They have no worries. They make a movie every once or 2 years and they live in a lap of luxury and they get laid all the time and they have
Yep.
drugs and food and money and cars and women and whatever the fuck they want.
Yeah.
You know, and
And they complain about not having any money when they deep down inside it too. Hence
yeah, and then
Tyrese
they call
Gibson.
us dumb. And then they call us dumb
Oh
and say
shit.
we're dumb and we don't know who we're voting for and they got to fucking tell us who to vote for because we're so who to vote for and we don't know how to run our own lives. We got to listen to them.
Yeah, they want to be
They're
role
smarter than
models when
us.
they're not.
Yeah. Look, they're fucking billionaires, right? We should be listening to the billionaire, right? No,
Yeah.
fuck that shit.
Yeah.
You connect with that's why I connect with these people on YouTube that I watch, and like there's people that I connect with that are on here that I watch all the time on YouTube.
Mhm.
And then there's people who connect with me that watch me that I know connect with me because they know who I am. They fucking know who I am. They know everything about me. They know that I'm not perfect. They know like just an everyday person, that needs support, that needs friends, that needs obviously if you're on here,
Mhm.
you're looking for something, right? You're either
Yes.
looking for something. You're looking for something. All right. Nobody on here is not looking for nothing.
No.
Everybody on here is looking for one thing, but it may be something different than what you're looking for or what I'm looking for. But everybody's looking for something.
Connection.
Whether it's a connection or camaraderie or accepting, being accepted, or trying to be something you're not, or trying to be somebody different, or try. I mean, there's a million different reasons, you know, why people are on here. But as long as you're on here and you're being yourself and you're fucking doing the right thing,
And be
that's all that
honest.
matters.
And
Yeah, that's
honesty.
all that matters,
That's
man.
honesty is also the key element as well.
Yeah, because you know what?
Yeah.
As long as you're honest, even if you know that saying, "Nice guys finish last."
Yes.
Well, it's the truth, but but the reality of that is, even if you're going to finish last and you keep finishing last, but you're still doing the right thing and you're a good person, eventually you
You're
come out on top.
Yeah, slowly. Yeah, like my channel, for instance. Yeah, I got to plug my channel because I'm slowly getting up there in subscribers. So probably I'll get a lot more after this stream ends. You
Oh,
know,
there you go, man. That's
yeah,
awesome, dude.
yeah.
I
Most
I
like
hope.
right
I
now,
wish you
right.
best of luck.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
I got about 205 subscribers right now.
Yeah, I've been on your channel for a while now, man.
Yeah, I know. I know. I've been making, and you gotta give me credit. I do come up with some interesting topics and stories. Like the Malice
Yeah,
Green
well, I mean,
case.
listen, it's always something that you're into, and that's the beauty of it. Like, if you're into it, even if the person is not into it that's watching you, if you're into it, it's going to get them into it
Yeah.
because you're so fascinated with it, and you're so the way you describe the story and what you say and how into it you are is going to make the person who's watching you into it, even if they're not into what story you're telling them. And
Yes.
that's part of it. You got to love what you're doing, and you obviously love what you're doing. You know what I mean? So it's like that's the part of it. So you're doing, even if you're talking about something that's not interesting to somebody, they're still going to be into it
Yes.
because you are. You
Yeah.
put your light. You put a lot in. Like you put when you do your videos, you talk about the situation in depth.
Hmm.
You know, so that's the good part of it.
Yeah, definitely.
You,
Yeah. I'm glad.
yeah.
Yeah, and also, by the way, thank you for watching my videos. And I know you commented on the one about Chris Morgan. Have you? Speaking of which, have you
Oh
heard
yeah,
anything from him ever again since that
dude.
one
I'm
episode,
telling
or
you,
no?
I've heard nothing about him, man. It's bad. Like the last time I heard about him, that guy was like half his body wasn't working,
Wow,
and they didn't know what the fuck he was getting out of the hospital.
wow. Didn't know he had. Does he have like a spinal condition or something else? If I, because I didn't know about this until now.
Yeah, he had a stroke, and like
Wow,
the
I never knew that.
yeah, like the left side of his body was fucking it wasn't working.
Wow,
Um,
wow, that's
um,
something.
yeah, so it was like. And then we were expecting to hear some kind of like update, but it just never happened. And his YouTube channel is just lying dormant.
Wow, that's
Yeah,
something, man. Wow,
yeah, because his YouTube channel was growing fast, man. He was growing it pretty fast.
I know I
He
made
was getting
I know
15 minutes of fame.
yeah, I'm looking at the New York Post right now. He is on the men. Basically just popping up right now. He's on the men after a stroke.
Yeah, dude, he
Wow.
was fucked up.
Well, I remember
He,
do you think that guy that called on that one episode that appeared on later on where we later on all of us did our roasting of McKinnon, do you think it was really him or no? Or it's maybe somebody else?
yeah, I don't think it was him, man.
I
But
don't think
at the
so
time,
either.
I was hoping it was, but
Yeah.
I don't think it was.
I think one of the reasons why, well, how tall is this guy? He's like four something, I think he is. His height, because I remember they were saying that he was short. He's unable to get any attractive ladies because of his shortness, from what I understand. Um, do you know how tall he is? Basically, 5 foot or 4 foot or something like that.
Um, Wait, say that again. I didn't hear the last part you said.
How tall is Chris Morgan
Oh,
exactly?
dude, he's fucking really short, man.
Wow,
Like
that's
really
prob.
bad,
I think that may be
like
one
bad.
of.
He looks like a midget. He looks like a midget, dude.
Oh
No
yeah,
joke.
yeah. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
that's. I think we all agree that guys who are midgets tend to be a lot more aggressive because to protect themselves from being picked on because of their height. There was this one guy I remember when I lived in Richmond, Michigan. His name was Dale. He would try to fuck with me any chance he had because I was this big tall dude and he was this wee short guy. But he would only act like that when he ever get pissed ass drunk. So a couple of times he tried to start shit with me until tried to confront him, and a couple of his buddies would say like, "Oh, yo, Dale, come, go back. Hey, dude, I'm sorry that he's trying to fuck with you." So eventually, I guess he quit the drinking, from what I understand. It's like it's kind of like regretful that he tried fucking with me. But then again, the guy, as I said before, he probably didn't like being short and feel if he was a tough guy, people would not fuck with him. So I'm thinking probably that's why Chris Morgan was the way he was. As in being tough and going crazy ape shit, wanting to fight people all the time. I remember he wanted to do that boxing match with one time. I guess it was whoever it was. No, I know it was Logan Paul, but you may have to help me out on this. Well, who do you want to fight for that one boxing match? Celebrity boxing. I forgot the name.
He was gonna fight like it was a couple of different people. What the hell was the name again? It was the guy from Howard Stern show. He was
Oh,
rumored to fight the guy Shuley, and
ah,
then he was rumored to fight the guy from Saved by the Bell,
oh,
Dustin, whatever his name
Dustin
was.
Diamond, the
Yeah,
guy who
yeah. So
played.
it was a couple of different people.
Yeah, yeah. So, well, he's on the mend right now. He had a stroke, and I guess according to this, he's on the mend after 1 week, suffering a stroke outside of a Long Island Denny. Now he's unable to move the left side of his body, says his manager. He's got a manager? What the fuck? Now, he's told me he's talking. The speech is still there. He has his eyes open, but he's still dealing with the numbness on his left side. So basically, I don't know what caused it. Maybe too many rants caused him a heart attack or something like that. Who knows? Maybe his cholesterol was way higher than Superman high, probably. I think it was. Oh, shit. I guess he filmed an episode on Dr. Oz where he had discussed the impact his anger issues have on his health. And that episode is set, I guess, it's supposed to be, I guess, an episode, I think it aired this past November, from what I understand. November 25th, I think it was. Got to look that up on YouTube about this, because people with anger issues do have a tendency to have health issues later on, because being angry does, take a toll on you mentally and physically at times. So,
Oh yeah,
well, we wish the best for Chris Morgan. Hope he gets well and
yeah,
back to active, and also, well, calm the fuck down once in a while. That's all I have to ask.
yeah. Serious.
Yeah. Okay, I'm about to end the show here. Ken, I'm glad you came on my channel. I'm so
Yeah,
happy and
thank you,
honored to
man.
have you here to talk about this.
You, bro. I had fun, man.
I had fun as well. Subscribe to my channel, ladies and gentlemen. It's Dr. Earl W. Brown, and also subscribe to Foul Mouths Network and Foul Mouths Nation. Those are Ken's channels there, and the Foul Mouths Network's what's it called? Livewire tomorrow night. It's called
Yep,
now. Yes,
yep.
Livewire tomorrow, 9 Eastern. 8 Central. Definitely check it out. I'll probably call in later on during the program. Either way, I got
Nice.
tomorrow off. Yes. Thank you once again, Falmouth Ken.
Thanks,
Have
Dr. Earl.
all right. Thank you very
All right, I'll
much.
talk to you soon, brother.
All right.
Thank
Have
you.
a good one. Bye bye.
All right, bye bye.
Bye bye. Ken from Falmouth Network, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for everyone for watching tonight. Peace out. You all have a good one. Have God by your side. Peace.